Hi everyone. Today's video is a bit special because this addresses a lot of the problems that my students often have. And the problem is that they can't find ideas for research projects. So students are very invested in the idea of doing a PhD or doing a master's, but they have no idea about what can be a feasible project. So in today's video, I will start with a series of videos where I present to you a few ideas every time in different areas where research work is going on, and it is the latest research interest of the industry or the stakeholders. And I hope this video is something that is useful for you or not. So I'll give you a brief background about each project and then tell you exactly what is it that you can focus on. So, for example, that if you are interested in any accounting areas, you will know that recent advances in technology, especially in artificial intelligence and automation, they have been having implications for the accounting profession and the accounting education, just like any other industry, I guess. So these technologies can handle structured, repetitive tasks, large data, audit functions, which were all previously being completed by physical accountants, people. So accordingly, the major accounting firms have now committed significant investments in the use of artificial intelligence, robotic process, automation, or any similar technology to avail the opportunities recent developments present. Now, similarly, universities are grappling with this new reality as the use of artificial intelligence tools by students has now prompted issues of academic integrity, authentic assessment, student learning. But on the positive side, integration of artificial intelligence into the accounting curricula can help students to be job ready. So what you as a research student can focus on is to understand the opportunities and challenges of the integration of artificial intelligence or AI in the accounting profession and or accounting education. So you can approach this project from the perspective of an educator or a practitioner or simply a trainer or someone who works in the industry. So depending on the perspective that you take, you can investigate the integration of artificial intelligence in the accounting industry. Another idea which could be in the area of agriculture is where you could get into a project which is trying to research factors that govern the quality of products that can be produced by 3D food printing for adding value food grade seconds and waste. Lower grade food products such as mechanically recovered meats and second grade food and vegetables can be converted into new products by processing into forms suitable for food printing. However, you have to remember that high throughput commercial applications of 3D food printing will require feed streams that are both optimized for producing quality printed foods and formulated to set or restructure after printing to create good bite and texture. So here, as a student, you can focus on characterizing the critical variables required for stabilizing the texture, color, flavor of products such as animal proteins or fruits or vegetable powders or purees for use as shelf-stable solutions to feed 3D food printers. You can also investigate the performance of gelatin and stabilization options and test the quality of outcomes using 3D food printers. Or just investigate any other idea that you can think of where you can incorporate the use of 3D food printing into sustainable agricultural or food practices. In case of architecture or tourism, maybe you can think of how architecture plays an important and varied role within the social practices of visiting and tourism. So the picture here that you see is of a museum from Qatar. This museum is called the Desert Rose Museum, and you can see the architecture is so interesting, which is the reason why people get attracted to visit this museum or even visit the country. So architects not only produce buildings but also images that directly gazes and shapes the media practices. So in turn, visitors to tourist places engage with built environments in a variety of ways with iconic buildings like Eiffel Tower or Leaning Tower of Pisa. And they provide content matter for photography and encouraging other media and tourist behavior. So you can think of so many architectural landmarks that actually attract people to the places. So I myself went to Paris just to see the Eiffel Tower, just because I was attracted and I always wanted to see it since I was a child. So your project can focus on the intersection between contemporary architecture, media, tourist practices, using multiple case studies from within a country, state, or city as a basis of your analysis. You can approach it from how people are trying to find the most Instagrammable spot in any city or any country. So these days, of course, tourism is a very popular form of growing a country's business, and all countries are investing in it. So if you can approach it from the angle of tourism, or you can approach it from the angle of media or architecture, you will benefit from this research. Then you can start looking at sustainable practices when it comes to the growth of plants, especially from the perspective of how drought is affecting crop growth. So there is an increasing severity of drought events, which represents a global challenge for agriculture and natural systems. So if you can have an understanding of how plants adapt to water stress, which requires knowledge of the developmental pathways invoked under drought conditions, you can think of combining experimental drought trials with advanced computer vision techniques, and your project can study the coordination of hydraulic traits during development in model species studied with the Center of Excellence for Plant Success in Nature and Agriculture. So if I want to simplify it, you can think of how you can promote the growth of agricultural practices, growth of plants, growth of crops in areas which are severely affected by the drought or lack of water. So you can think about innovative practices that can be introduced that supports sustainable practices, and you will get a lot of funding in projects like this because governments are always looking into sustainable practices these days. The last project I want to discuss today deals with nanoplastics. As you know, that plastic waste these days is generated in thousands of millions of tons, with more than 60% of all plastics going into landfills or natural environment. So plastic, of course, eventually breaks down into nanoplastics, which is proved by laboratory-based plastic weathering studies. But there is still this huge issue of how you can deliver novel materials, tools, and methods to enable the accurate detection of trace levels of nanoplastics in environmental samples. Again, a project which will get you massive funding from industries who are looking into this. So remember, environmentally relevant concentrations of nanoplastics are usually below the limits of detection for current analytical methods. And this limits our capacity to generate knowledge concerning these incidentally produced nanomaterials. So this is of relevance due to the variety of nanoplastics types and their broad particle size distributions, some of them having the capacity to transverse biological membranes, which makes it very toxic for the environment. For it acts as pollutants from water. It is affecting living organisms right from the fish that you eat. So if you can investigate or think about how you can use analytical techniques such as high performance liquids chromatography, mass spectrometry, and pyrolysis gas chromatography, then you can think of how the detection of nanoplastics at environmentally relevant levels can take place, if this is an area that interests you. Again, I am highlighting the areas which is getting a lot of funding from the industry. It's getting a lot of interest from the stakeholders, and if you are into this area, it will be not only be easy for you to get funding but also to get a job after you finish. A lot of people will take interest in your research. These are of course emerging themes, and if you invest in this, you will definitely benefit as a researcher. So I will propose more topics as I get to know from them. As you know, I am not an expert in each of these topics. I am actually getting a summary of these areas from my friends, from my peers who are into different areas. So I meet them and I ask them about the areas of research they are doing. I'm also a journal editor and I have to send papers for a review to experts. And when I talk to the experts, I get to know about their fields. I get to know what is it that they are looking for, what is it that is getting funding from the industry, and that is why I'm presenting these topics. So sometimes when I present these topics, you might think that Sam just seems to be rattling off the area and not really having a knowledge of it. That's true. The knowledge I have is very brief about some of these areas because it's purely based on the conversations that I have with the experts and not necessarily my own knowledge and experience. But I hope these ideas help you to develop projects or gives you ideas about similar projects or a sub project that you can use for your research studies. Thank you for watching today's video. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you soon with my next video. Bye for now.